Welcome to the Park Avenue Tunnel, a century-old passageway that has been a silent witness to changing tides of technology. Transportation has existed in the area we now call New York City since before the first Europeans arrived in the 17th century. The Native American Lenape people who inhabited the area utilized foot routes that now coincide with several paved roads, which experience frequent traffic even to this day. After the Dutch arrived in New York in 1609, transportation and routing in the area entered an entirely new phase. They renamed the Lenape routes with Dutch names. Further adding to that sentiment, a Dutch general decided to move ahead and construct a stone street. As the English took the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam in 1664, the routing and transportation infrastructure took off, with many upgrades applied to Lenape trails. River routes and parallel land streets laid foundations for inward expansion throughout the island that Manhattan rests on today. As the English realized that their commerce could support a proper expansion of their desired infrastructure, they began crafting plans for how they would build their settlement. The Commissioner's Plan of 1811 drafted the blueprint, and it's this early 19th century grid plan that the Park Avenue Tunnel would eventually come to be constructed within. The first form that the Park Avenue Tunnel took was in 1834, when an open cut through Park Avenue offered a trench for train infrastructure to develop. It was through this passage that the New York and Harlem Railroad offered horse-drawn rail cars to pull you along. The first type of coverage that went over the tunnel formed in 1846. Several years later, in 1850, safety concerns rose as the empty space below the bridges offered a potentially dangerous plummet. A commission was established to create roofs over the open cavity. Some New York City horses were given a break as steam engine service was introduced in 1837. Despite steam power still being a relatively new form of technology at the time, it still needed further development to make horse travel obsolete. The underground stations were made in an attempt to ventilate the tunnels of odors caused by horses and smoke refuse. In 1898, the equestrian's tenure as a mode of transportation through the Park Avenue Tunnel came to its long-awaited end. Electricity was first introduced to New York City in 1882 through the Edison Illuminating Company's Pearl Street Station, and it took just 16 years for this invention to find its way into the widely used transportation network. Electric-powered streetcar lines appeared in New York, and the tunnel was subject to the change. In 1919, the Park Avenue Viaduct was finally established above the ramp outside of the Park Avenue Tunnel. With this elevation, cars would be out of the way of other traffic on the ground. The electric-powered streetcars were out of service, and the tunnel was paved for automobiles in 1935. Up to this day, the tunnel has been in use in the same fashion as it was back then, albeit with some minor changes. And we'll leave it there for today, but thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Ryan Socash, signing off.